Hey guys! So I am setting up for my live stream this week like I do every Wednesday. At least that's what my schedule has been so far. And I figured I would sort of take you through how I stream my artwork as I'm sort of setting things up and show you a little bit about how I live stream my traditional artwork. Live streaming has been pretty popular recently, and live streaming traditional artwork can seem really overwhelming and you might not know how to get started. And so I figured I would just show you a little bit of the behind the scenes of how I stream. So first off, I wanted to mention what I am going to talk about in this video real quick. The first section, I'm going to talk about where and why you might want to live stream. Next, I want to talk about the sort of bare minimum you need to get started. There's a lot of fancy things you can get, and it can get really expensive, and it might be just confusing where to start. Next, I'm going to show you the products and tech that I use, as well as software, how I at least generally set up everything. I'll have Amazon affiliate links for all the products I use or recommend. If you so choose to buy some of those things or use those links, thank you so much. That really helps out this channel and helps me continue to do what I do. And I want to talk a little bit more in depth of ways you can customize your live streaming, especially if you kind of want to take it to the next level and are interested in how I set things up. I'm only gonna sort of scratch the surface with a lot of this information because I can only show you what I know and what I do. There's a lot of information out there answering lots of different questions about how to set things up from a tech perspective and things like that. This is going to be a very, very general video on how to get started. Hopefully you will find that helpful. And lastly, I want to go over just a few things that I think is helpful to consider when considering live streaming your traditional art, and go over a few tips that I have that I think would have really helped me when I got started. So let's get started with the where and the why. There's a few different places that you can live stream, and it seems to be more and more accessible nowadays, and I think that's a really big sign of where things are going and how popular this format of presenting your artwork is. There's this personal connection that you end up having with your audience and your audience has with you. I just feel like it's a really exciting time to be live streaming. I see live streaming in sort of two different categories. There's the category of just get it up quick, let's have a connection, and I'm live streaming. Typically that happens with Instagram. You can do this on Facebook. I think you can do it with Twitter as well, where you just pick up your phone and start filming yourself and you're live. There's some pros and cons to that, and I typically don't do that sort of live streaming as much, and I'll tell you why, and why I'm focusing more on an online platform where you are live streaming to a channel. Sometimes it's really great to just pick up your phone and start and be live, and that's definitely a pro of doing that with your phone. And typically most people have an Instagram account or Twitter or Facebook or something similar that they can just pick up their phone and they're live. Something to consider though is that there's a lot less that you can customize about that, so you're not going to necessarily have as much of like an overlay or information about your social media and things like that, which you might not care about. That's something that I really like. I really like to have my branding everywhere and feel very cohesive and have information about that I can reference and have people go to. Another thing for me was how well your phone is able to keep up with live streaming. I feel like a lot of the time that sort of live streaming ends up becoming a little problematic because you can't really be on for a long time. I know a lot of people on other platforms will want to live stream for upwards of 2, 3, 4 hours at a time, which isn't necessary, but is something that is nice to have that as an option. And I know for me, I don't have the newest phone, but it also needs to be plugged in and then it can overheat. And there's a lot of various issues that can come up with trying to use your phone. Specifically for me, using my phone for too many things, I feel like ends up wearing it out a lot quicker. And when I can use other tech to live stream, I always prefer doing that. So it was really important for me when making this video to make live streaming, especially live streaming your traditional art, really feel accessible to a lot of you. And I realized that you can get caught up in all the fancy things, the webcams and all sorts of stuff, and I wanted to just talk about the bare minimum I feel you need for live streaming. There's enough anxiety and scariness with getting started with live streaming in general that I want to make it as simple as possible so that you can customize as you see fit as you continue going on. So it may feel a little cumbersome to live stream to places like YouTube or Twitch, where you may want to set up a separate webcam or software and all these things that I'll go over in just a second. But I really enjoy that more because I'm able to customize it. It runs a lot smoother, and I feel like I have a little bit more control over some things. And I also feel like as long as your internet is fast enough, you're going to be able to live stream for a while and not have a time limit on that, especially if you're working on a traditional piece that typically will take a lot longer. If you want to show more of that process, live streaming for longer just makes a lot more sense in my book. If you are wanting to live stream to, again, Instagram, Twitter, things like that, just be live right away. Really all you need is your phone. You might want to have some sort of tripod for that, even a cell phone tripod, really inexpensive. You typically want to have your phone charging because it's going to lose power really quickly. And you just want to make sure you have somewhere where you have some reliable internet or Wi-Fi. The great thing about that is it can be really mobile, so you can go to a cafe to work. Like I showed in my Artist Alley kind of vlog from SBCC, Jacqueline De Leon was using her phone and a tripod, and she was able to go right to Instagram, which was really fantastic. However, if you want to stream to places like Twitch and have a little bit more custom things going on, you're gonna need a few more things. The first main thing is a good webcam. I would say try to buy the best webcam that you can afford. The second thing you'll need is some sort of broadcasting software. There's a free program that is fantastic. That's what I use. There's also, I believe, XSplit, and I'm sure there's a few others. I'm not sure about prices for other ones, but I know OBS is free and I use it on my Mac and it works super well. So obviously for this you need a computer that is able to have a high enough internet speed that working with live streaming and all of that will work out okay. I can't tell you too much about internet speed or type of computer, or if your computer will work for this. It's just one of those things you probably should just look a little bit more into it. I have an iMac right now that's really new from the last couple of years, and I previously used about 4 to 5 year old MacBook, and that worked okay, but it started to run pretty slowly because there's a lot for the computer to do. And so that's just something for you to keep in mind about what kind of computer you're using. You want something a little bit newer, a little bit on the more powerful side, and that's going to make a difference with being able to connect and have a good stable stream. The biggest requirement in my book is lighting. So especially for traditional art, whether you're doing video and you're recording something or you're doing live streaming, light is so important, and it can be you live streaming next to an open window that has lots of natural light. Or what I typically do, I have a window, but I do use a lot of just random lights right now. I'm trying to save up to have some nice studio lights. That's probably my next purchase. But I use daylight bulbs. I think I got these from Target, so they're pretty accessible. They're not the cheapest light bulbs, but you again want to make sure it says daylight on it, and that is going to simulate sunlight and is going to be the best lighting for your artwork. It won't be too yellow, and it will show the truest colors that you can possibly get. I end up setting up 3 different lights so that I avoid shadows and I really light up my space. I would prioritize lighting over a more expensive webcam. Obviously you want as nice a webcam as you can can afford. But if your lighting is not very good, the webcam's not going to be able to pick up too much. You want to kind of weigh those two when you're going and looking into lighting as well as your webcam. Okay, so I wanted to show you more about my setup and what I currently have tech-wise, as well as what I use for software and things like that on my computer. So I figured I would first sort of show you my setup, a little bit of a tour, explain the different things I use and why I have them, and go from there. This is sort of a nice overview of my sort of behind the scenes, what I see when I am live streaming on Twitch and YouTube. As you can see, this is sort of my work area, what is picked up on the webcam that I have here. You can see I have 3 different lights. This is my current light setup, and I'm hoping to upgrade in the near future. These are all different lamps that I have that have daylight bulbs, like I mentioned. I have my microphone here, and I have it real close so that I can talk right into it. And I have my iMac for not only, I use the webcam that is built in to have a face cam, and I also use OBS, that is the software that I use that connects to Twitch or YouTube or whatever platform you're using. As you can see, I have my webcam focused on me, so this is my face cam. Again, that isn't necessary for live streaming your traditional art. People really just need to see what you're working on, but I like to have a webcam on when I'm feeling up for it, just because I feel like it adds another sort of personal connection. People feel like they're actually here with me, and I feel like they're here too. A lot more communication that can be picked up on having a face cam, and especially having the mic to interact with people. And I really enjoy that. Live streaming that way, again, when I'm having a better mental health day, I don't always do it, but sometimes I like doing that, and also I really prefer that from live streamers that I watch as well. It might feel like kind of a lot to be paying attention to all at first, and that's a big reason I wanted to talk about the bare minimum of things you need just to get started and see how you want to customize things, because this took me a little while to figure out the correct lighting and webcams and things like that. So I wanted to show you real quick kind of what I typically see on my screen when I am live streaming. First, I have OBS, like I mentioned before. This is just a browser where I'll have chat open. I will also have typically music, like on Pandora or something like that. And I will sometimes have something like reference that I'm looking up if I don't have it on my phone. And then I have my camera settings here. For the most part, what I really love about OBS is that it has everything built in. So I am looking at my mic and volume levels. I have my different scenes here where I will have this scene go up as I'm kind of doing my last minute things, getting ready. And then I will typically change to this scene where I have my webcam right here on my face. I have this webcam of the art that I'm working on, and then I have a few other things that I customize on top here. And this is basically what it looks like on the back end. On to my tips for you starting out with live streaming. These tips I feel are helpful for whether you're doing traditional or digital art or just live streaming in general. First off, I wanted to just address this idea of having stage fright or being scared to be in front of a camera, whether your face is on camera or it's just your hands working on artwork. This idea of making mistakes or being live and not being able to edit yourself. Yes, it's scary. You have a live audience, and to some degree you can see how many people are watching you. And yeah, that's pretty scary. And especially in the beginning, that ends up making you feel really awkward, and you will be awkward. And you know what? That's actually really great. I feel like being awkward on camera and live streaming is actually really nice, because you end up showing your humanity to those that are coming to see you live. I think a big pull for people and an audience coming to see live streams is to see the human behind the artwork. To be honest, my favorite YouTubers are the ones that show and then embrace their flaws on camera. And a lot of that is the way you speak and the way you present yourself and making mistakes in your art. Being realistic and avoiding trying to be perfect is really going to help you out, and it's going to help break the ice, and people will see you for you, and your audience will be able to connect with those imperfections, and they're going to want to stay longer. The thing I want to address also is that yes, there are going to be internet trolls on your live stream here and there. If you have people coming into your stream and really being negative and being mean to you, remember that it is your channel, it's your place. This should be a safe place for your creative energy, and there is no shame in blocking any of those kinds of people that bring that negativity. The more you build your audience, the more your audience sticks up for you. And one other thing I did want to address is when you're first starting out and you more than likely don't have too much of an audience you're bringing with you. I mean, you might be, and that would be great. A lot of the time, how I started out, I just started live streaming. And in all honesty, I didn't even really advertise it a whole lot because I was scared of people showing up, which that actually ended up backfiring on me a little bit, because then it made me feel like no one was coming and there wasn't any interaction, and it ends up being a lot more awkward, and awkward for me to not have anybody there, because it feels, at first I thought, well, if no one's there, then I don't have to worry about being live in front of people. But it's actually pretty discouraging, or at least I found it to be pretty discouraging, just being there with no interaction when you start, and there's likely not going to be very many, if any at all, in stream with you, especially in chat. Be okay talking to yourself when there's not a lot of interaction. Get used to just doing your thing, to just sort of talk about what you're doing, whether you see that there are people watching or not. A lot of the time people like to lurk. They don't necessarily want to come in and talk and chat. So don't get too nervous if people are there and not interacting or not speaking up in chat. That's okay. On a related note, always have tea or water, something to drink, because you'll end up talking a lot more than you might be used to, especially if you're more of an introvert like me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was a really helpful video and it made things a little bit more clear and hopefully less scary to get started in the world of live streaming, especially for traditional artists. If you're interested in coming to some of my live streams, head over. I'll have a link down below, and I would love to see you guys in some of my streams in chat. If you watch this video and you find yourself over on Twitch, let me know, and it'll be really fun to connect with you and figure out how you found me. Thanks again so much for watching, and I hope you have a creatively fulfilled day, and I will see you next time. Bye guys!